Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here today. My name is State Representative Matt Gobler. I represent the 75th District in Elk and Clearfield counties, and I'm pleased to be here today to address today's developments on the state budget. We are here today. We're doing our jobs for the taxpayers and the hardworking citizens of Pennsylvania. We're here to say that we're glad that Governor Wolf has finally recognized what we've been saying for 6 months, that it is wrong to hold the citizens of Pennsylvania hostage for an increase in taxes on hardworking Pennsylvanians, be it sales taxes or income taxes. These taxes are taxes that will take money out of every family's pockets. So we are glad to recognize that today's bottom line is this. On January 4th, schools across Pennsylvania will be open and human service providers will receive their critical funds. Today's line item veto of our budget bill represents where we should have been in June or July, not December. The legislature is not 6 months behind on this. Our governor is. We all know that it would be unacceptable to force schools to close. That's why the General Assembly, House and Senate, ensured that a budget arrived on the governor's desk despite ongoing disagreements among the various parties. We recognize the importance of releasing funds to schools and human services, and we applaud Governor Wolf for recognizing this fact and allowing funds to finally start flowing. We have voted to release funds 4 separate times, and we are gratified that he now recognizes the merits of our arguments and the problems he created with his unilateral and indiscriminate full veto on June 30th. Now, it is important to address the real issue that has been at the core of this 6-month impasse: tax increases. Multiple proposals to increase taxes on working Pennsylvanians that would be necessary to fund the governor's spending proposals have failed by wide, bipartisan margins over the past 6 months in the General Assembly. The most recent vote, held on Senate Bill 1073, which was the $30.8 billion spending plan that required broad-based tax increases to balance, only received 100 votes in the House on second consideration. It takes 102 votes to pass a bill. So Senate Bill 1073 was not a viable bill to provide immediate critical funding. Therefore, the $30.3 billion plan contained in House Bill 1416 was the prudent, responsible, and immediate way to provide necessary critical funding to Pennsylvania schools, human services, and government agencies. And we are here, committed to working and getting the job done in a way that respects the taxpayers of our great Commonwealth. I want to thank you very much, and I will be followed by Representative Seth Grove, who would like to address education funding issues in our budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. The fallacy of the $95 million cut. I call it a lie. Some would say it's a fallacy. The temporary elimination of the Plan-Con line has been a bipartisan, bicameral agreement to ensure every school district who is owed state reimbursements for construction receives their money paid in full. It's agreed to by the administration, Senate Republicans, Senate Democrats, House Democrats, and House Republicans. Jokingly, over the past few months, I've said personally, this is probably the only thing in this whole damn budget that's been agreed to by everyone moving forward. Every school district who is owed money will get the money they are owed. Billions of dollars in backed owed dollars will be distributed to school districts under this budget. What caused bond downgrades for school districts is the governor's unilateral decision to veto the entire budget in June and continue to fight the General Assembly in our attempts to release funding to school districts, to human services, to counties, etc. A $405 million increase to education funding is not a cut. Let me repeat that. A $405 million increase to education funding is not a cut. Sending billions of dollars in Plan-Con reimbursements to school districts is not a cut. If the governor wants the $1 billion that was lost from education funding, call the White House. It was federal stimulus dollars that were plugged in to supplant state dollars under the Rendell administration that went away, and everybody knew they would go away because they were temporary stimulus dollars in Governor Corbett's first year. I appreciate the governor finally recognizing that his full veto is destroying our great Commonwealth and has created much suffering throughout the county school districts, the county human service agencies, and nonprofits. I have nonprofits that I talked to this morning that are happy that their funding is going to get released, but they already laid off people. So services aren't being rendered in those agencies moving forward. I think finally we have some resolution. Again, this should have been done in June. 68% of what we passed in June was already agreed to. Some of these same line items were agreed to. Moving forward, the big question is, how is money going to be driven out to school districts? Is it based on last year's? Is it based on what the governor wants to send money to school districts? Is it predicated on political paybacks of some sort? How is that money going to go out to our school districts? The 6-month allotment, is it in a way that's fair and equitable? How are we going to be doing that moving forward? I'm anxious to see the administration's response so we know and our school districts know how much to expect out of that 6 months of funding moving forward. Hopefully, as we move forward, we can continue to work together to close those differences. I think this was a step in the right direction. Had the governor done a full veto, I'm not sure the repercussions of that on this Commonwealth. As bad as it is, having schools not reopen after Christmas break would have been devastating to parents who would have to take off work to stay home with their kids. Think about all the businesses that would not have those employees. So I do applaud the governor, appreciate his willingness not to go back to a full veto. And generally, a lot of the line items are approved. The other question I would have is, why do a half allocation on Department of Corrections? Under court rulings, those employees are going to be paid for in full, whether through that line item or through the temporary stopgap funding line item. If you look at Department of Treasury, he has an entire line item dedicated to reimburse those stopgap payments. If they show up for work, they have to be paid. I hope this isn't a precursor to more hostages to not pay corrections workers or furlough them, which would be the governor's unilateral decision to furlough employees moving forward. I often think about the governor's veto threat of a stopgap budget. And think about that. We were going to pass a stopgap budget in the House. He was threatening to veto it, and after he vetoed it, furlough employees. Think about that. You didn't have money to spend. We're going to send you money, but I'm going to veto it, so you're back at square one and not have money to spend. But in this case, I'm going to furlough people. Why? To what end? So a couple opinions and some observations I have moving forward. But again, I do appreciate the governor's willingness to not do a full veto and send a majority of those line items out, including federal funding, to make sure everything is paid for. And again, do we not have tax votes in this Commonwealth? That is the question we need to answer. I speculate we don't, but I've had that opinion since June 1st, since we shot down a $12.7 billion tax increase the governor wanted. With that, we'll open it up to questions.
When the governor basically wants you, I don't know that he said this word for word, but he wants you to come back now. Do you think there's any chance that you're going to come back this week, or should you come back this week?
At this point, I think that's a determination by the speaker and our leadership team. I think it was pretty clear that, on June 1st or June 30th, the governor took him an hour to veto the budget. And this time it took him a couple of days to go through it, analyze it, and make the determination that he's going to do some blue lining. I think those decisions will be made. We'll see if we do or don't come back. Are going to be looking at veto overrides. What are we looking at specifically doing moving forward?
Have you had any conversations with your leaders?
We just got the press conference. Was at 10:30. We're at noon here. So
Coming back, given the fact that you don't believe there are votes for tax increases? Coming back, whatever.
yeah. Again, it's a determination that will be made whether we will or will not coming back. So we'll see. Any other questions?
Speaking for the caucus? Are you speaking for leadership in the caucus? Leadership isn't here.
We're speaking for ourselves at this point and making sure that we have a responsible response to the governor's press conference from earlier today to make sure that the residents of Pennsylvania know that we appreciate the governor not doing a full veto, and we're committed to passing a responsible budget moving forward and continue to work with all sides as we move forward.
How much of the caucus do you speak for, and how many of them are here today?
Since this was called at the last second, and I think, Matt, you want to, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll address that. We received word late last night that the governor would be having a press conference today. And so those of us who have gotten together here have gotten together and discussed among ourselves, certainly consistent with the conversations we've been having for 6 months. So we cannot speak for anyone beyond who is here, but certainly we think that we speak for those who are like-minded with us.
Questions?
Thank you all for coming. Thank you.
Thank you very much.